Tag, very nice, very evil.
Yeah, that's tag shit.
Free fall as I dive through the kaleidoscope in my mind. No rope up to climb. Gotta remind myself that I'm fine. Mama, I don't really.
What up, Tag Nation, and soon to be members of the Tag Nation? Welcome to another episode of NXT.A.G with your boy ScooterRay. And we're here to talk about tonight's NXT episode. You know, it's Christmas Eve. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Happy Hanukkah. Happy Kwanzaa. Whatever you celebrate. Festivus for the rest of us. I think that was recent. But hey, whatever you celebrate, have a happy holidays. This is the Christmas Eve edition of NXT. It was a pre-taped episode when they was in Hammerstein. Not Hammerstein, sorry. I totally forgot where they was just at. Just that fast. But hey, don't worry about it. NXT, let's go. They showed a recap of last week. Now, per ending of episode with the whole Trick Williams and Eddie Thorpe, who's the winner, due to the fallout of it all, they awarded Trick with the championship. They was like, hey, due to it, it's in essence a draw. Trick is going to remain. He as an Eddie Thorpe gets upset. He pushes Sean. Trick gets him back in the ring, proceeds to beat him up a little bit. You know, everybody can go home happy knowing that Eddie Thorpe got a beat down for putting his hands on HBK. But the show opens up with Stephanie for Cora Jade. This is stemming from the fact that, you know, while Julia is going to be dealing with Roxanne, Stephanie is going to take care of the friend and Cora Jade. And this match has been brewing. And more what I'm seeing with NXT and what we strive to do with this show, what I was saying in episode 1 was basically kind of showcasing, highlighting where we could see people when they eventually move up, or eventually if they decide to switch companies, or of course if they ascend to Raw or SmackDown. But more and more what I'm trying to see is I can appreciate the fact that not everybody in NXT is meant to be a superstar. Like, not everybody in NXT is meant to be a main eventer on Raw or SmackDown. I'm enjoying that within NXT. To borrow a phrase from Lip Dizzle, I'm appreciating the fact that we're starting to see more and more of these utility players. You know, they're not necessarily going to be champions. They're not necessarily going to possibly be main eventers, but they're going to be good for what they need to be. And if they're properly written correctly and slotted correctly on Raw and SmackDown, they can work out in whatever capacity they need. And more I'm starting to see that with some of these men and women that, you know, not all of them are meant to be headliners. And in the world of professional wrestling, that is okay. There are many legends and many people who are Hall of Famers that didn't even sniff a main event scene, and we still have them in high regard. So it's not a slight whatsoever. It's just one of those things to where you can see how they're being built, and if it does take them to that next level, to that next stratosphere, even better on them. But back to this. Cora Jade, Stephanie McCure. I can see Stephanie eventually becoming NXT Women's Champion. I guess it all is going to depend on how long they're going to keep her in NXT. But it wouldn't surprise me, once, like I mentioned last week with Stand and Deliver, if it gears towards Stephanie versus Julia. But Cora, I can see Cora 1000% carrying over that mean girl persona on Raw or SmackDown. Now, what they're gonna have to do is either Cora may have to slightly change up her style a little bit to keep her around because she has suffered some crazy injuries. But if they're going to put her with other people, make it a believable stable that these are mean girls. You know, that these are the mean girls. Like, to be honest with you, if they somewhat resurrect Toxic Attraction, I know they kind of did it with Fatal Influence, but if they do more of a Toxic Attraction style stable within Raw and SmackDown and have them truly like these Mean Girl-esque type people, you know, I understand Tiffany is heading towards face, but Cora, Tiffany, maybe JC, and another, like a good four pack, they would actually carry that mean girl persona pretty well. Like, you know, especially if we're somewhat referencing Mean Girls, the movie. But if we have like a good four, like a good quartet of women to kind of do this mean girl-esque, like, we too cool to be with y'all. And like I said, Cora, Tiffany, JC, and I don't know who could be the fourth. Maybe it's somebody still in NXT, or maybe it could be somebody on the main roster, but I can see that working. You know, kind of like how with Toxic Attraction, like how they had the Toxic Lounge and how it was literally them three. They didn't care about you other women in NXT bars. It was just us three and all of y'all. And I can see them somewhat doing it on Raw and SmackDown, where it's just us three or four and the rest of y'all. But ultimately, Stephanie McCoy gets the dub. I mean, it was building towards it. Pretty solid match, pretty decent match. Because like I said, this was more of an awakening. Like, I was seeing it before, but it was more of an awakening to see utility players. Not necessarily seeing you can see exactly who can be main eventers and exactly who's going to be lower mid-card main eventers, but just to see that there's a lot of people that if they call them up, they will be good. Now, before we get to the rest of the show, there has been an article coming out about the treatment of Baron Corbin, Apollo Crews, Kiana James. Who else was recently called up from NXT? It was a couple others. Because Braun and Carmelo kind of escaped it. A little bit of Lyra Valkyria has kind of escaped it. But essentially, they're saying in essence, these people were in NXT, they got called up, and nothing happened. So it's kind of starting to be a lobby that, hey, WWE creative, if you're going to call up these NXT superstars, have a plan. Have a plan. Don't just call them up to be like, oh, we're filling out rosters for Raw and SmackDown. Have a plan, Ken. Have a plan for these ladies and gentlemen, because it is kind of unfair that in essence you're getting the dream of being drafted to Raw or SmackDown, and then it's just like, oh, I'm just here. Now, of course, injuries can happen, but if you're just fully fine and you're just like, oh, well, I'm just here. Hey, you know, you can use me. You know, so please start having a plan for these men and women when you call them up from NXT. But moving right along, the main event match is a Christmas Chaos Fatal 4-Way between the family of Luca and Stacks versus OTM of Bronco and Lucian, Hank and Tank, and NQCC's Tavion and Miles. And the winner, of course, is going to get a title shot against Fraxium. So the first vignette we have of the family, which basically they were saying that, you know, they're going to, in essence, cause chaos, win the match. I had an interesting thought, and let me know if y'all agree with me out there. I could see the family being called up, and hear me out, have them be akin to the APA. Have them be akin to the APA of, hey, I need to hire y'all to take care of the issue. You know, I have a title match and see if you can weaken. Because, you know, Tony has that persona of no face, no case. Because, you know, on the AEW side, we still don't know who attacked Darby Allin. But, you know, the whole no face, no case, I can see that if they somewhat do that a little bit with them in on the main roster, it could be one of those stables to where that could be one of those sneaky, like, have them APA adjacent, where it's like, hey, if you got a problem, come see the family. But after that, we get a shot of Lexis King. He's getting ready for his Heritage Cup championship, and Mr. Regal comes out and was like, you know, I'm glad you get another title shot. You're going to do this the right way, or you're going to just do this. And Lexis King was like, yeah, I'm going to do it the right way. And Regal pulls out Nux and was like, that wasn't the question I was trying to ask, but okay. So we get into the match. Lexis King, Charlie Dempsey, Heritage Cup. It's a rematch from about roughly a month ago. They get into it again. Now, the closing moments of the match was Ren was checking on Charlie Dempsey mid-match, and the ref was like, hey, you can't be doing that, you know, blah, 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 blah. Regal puts the Nux on Lexis's hand. Lexis takes him off and was like, no, I don't want to do it. Regal decks Lexis. The Nux go flying across the ring. Dempsey picks up the Nux. The ref assumes Dempsey used the Nux on Dempsey. Boom, DQ. Lexis King is your new Heritage Cup champion. And of course, with the Heritage Cup, a DQ is an automatic win for the other person. So, and new. And you can kind of see Regal was kind of like, that wasn't supposed to happen. And then just to go ahead and fast forward, they did a little interview later where Lexis King was like, yeah, I'm the Heritage Cup champion. Sarah Sharper was trying to ask about the shenanigans, and he was like, I did it the right way. I'm the new Heritage Cup champion. So, Lexis King, he might be a little tough. And the only reason why he might be a little tough if he when he goes to Raw or SmackDown is because WWE has a fondness of the past. They have a fondness of whatever generation you are. And I know Lexis King is on this whole thing of bars, lazy though, but bars, that he doesn't want his father's legacy, and of course his father being Brian Pillman, and he doesn't want that. He wants to be his own man and this and the third. So I don't know. In all honesty, he's going to have to be a heel. He's going to really have to be a heel. Like, I understand he wants to try to be a face and everything in NXT as of right now, try to do things the right way, but he's going to have to really be a heel. And they're going to have him mixed in with, you know, the Intercontinental or maybe the U.S. Championship picture and this, that, and the third. And of course, you know, if that popularity and everything soars, by all means, you know, have him in that main event scene. But I can definitely see him in that mid-card title scene on Raw or SmackDown, depending on where they slide him at in the future. Because I possibly don't see Lexis maybe getting called up to possibly late 25, maybe early 26. My personal opinion, unless they just see something right now to where they're like, no, we need him on the main roster ASAP. I'm saying maybe 25, 26. And the NQCC is going to be another weird one, because if they draft them all up together, which of course, you know, Dempsey, Ren, Tavion, and Bourne, they're going to be American-made-esque. They're going to be American-made-esque, unfortunately. And I don't know how they could shed that image and gimmick as of right now, because if we're really putting it in perspective, and I hate saying it this way, but I love saying it this way. Liz will know who I'm talking about. They're almost a new iteration of the Diamond Mine. Shout out to Stokely. You know, they're almost a new iteration of the Diamond Mine. So, and we all know the Diamond Mine, unfortunately, people got released and things. It dissolved. And now the core members of the Diamond Mine, being the Creed Bros and Ivy Nile, now with Chad Gable, which makes American Made. So it's kind of hard to see NQCC as nothing but almost another iteration or version of American Made, just no quarter catch crew. So it'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting because maybe they may all split by then and they all may be their own men and woman, but we'll see. We'll see. Then we get a match. Then we get OTM segment, which they were, you know, saying their things and, you know, getting their bars off. Oh, let me rewind. I totally forgot something. After the match of Stephanie and Cora, Kalani comes out and attacks Cora Jade with a kendo stick. Stephanie stops her. She kind of stops Kalani. Then we get to a segment where Steph, Lola, and Kalani are all backstage, and Kalani is mad because it's like, why is it that when things get done to me, nobody does it, but when I try to get my revenge, and she's basically telling two ladies of Lola and Stephanie, stay out of my business. Stay out of my business. Let me handle this. Stay out of my business. From that, next week we are going to get Lola versus Kalani. So I forgot that tidbit. And I'll go more into them next week after their match with Lola and Kalani. So now, OTM gets their segment about the tag team match and, you know, what they're going to do in this, that, and the third. Then we get a tag team match of the unholy union of, you know, if you watched our tier list video, you know what's about to come. We got Alba Fire and Isla Dam versus the team of Jasmine, Nyx, and JC Jane of Fatal Influence. Now, before the match can really kick off, we see that Katana Chance and Kaden Carter are in the audience, and they were saying that it may be the transfer portal, that maybe that those two ladies may be back on NXT. We don't know yet. And then, of course, as of now, I'm nicknaming them the Misfits. And the Misfits, of course, is the trio of Shotzi, Gigi, and Tatum. So you had all of these elements out there during this tag team match, but ultimately the match ended with Unholy Union getting the dub. Now, I don't know if Unholy Union is going to be back on NXT, but we'll see. Now, the problem is they're bringing all of these tag teams and somewhat factions back in NXT. What's the ultimate goal? Because you don't have a tag team championship no more, because the tag team championship is technically on Raw and SmackDown. Yeah, it's supposed to be used between all three brands, but so it'll be interesting to see. And Fatal Influence, I don't know. Something's just not hitting with Fatal Influence for me. Maybe because we had a good thing with Toxic Attraction, and it kind of seems, I mean, it is Toxic Attraction 2.0, but I don't know. Something's just not hitting to me with Fatal Influence. And that's the reason why earlier I took JC Jane out of this group and did it with a Mean Girls Club in essence with Cora and, you know, Tiffany and somebody else. Jasmine, I don't know. I think Jasmine needs to cook a little bit longer. You know, not saying anything negative or anything. Fallon, I don't think they're letting Fallon rock as much to say she's the Women's North American champion. I don't know. Something's not connecting. The dots aren't really connecting to me with Fatal Influence. And I don't know why, especially with Fallon being North American champion. So, but then we do get NQCC giving their a promo about how they're going to win the Fatal 4-Way. Then we get a segment of Zarya and Soul in the back talking, basically saying, you know, it kind of sucks that we lost and this and that. Then Izzy Dane comes up and is like, well, hey, Zarya, you need to be by yourself instead of doing this whole team thing. Then, of course, Sean Spears, Nico, and Brooks come. And it seems like now Spears is trying to recruit Izzy. He was trying to recruit Gigi, but I guess now since Gigi has kind of moved with being with Shotzi and Tatum, seems like now Spears is trying to recruit Izzy to his little faction, his little family. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Then we get the most eye-rolling matches of how it happened of Ashanti, the Adonis versus Dion Lennox. I'm not going into detail of why they're fighting, but they're fighting. Nikita Lyons comes out to support Ashanti. Nikita helps. Ashanti gets the dub. Put it out there. It's too soon to slot Dion into anything because he's only had a few TV matches. So it's too soon to slot Dion. I know as of now, they kind of have his character as like this whole bookworm, super smart guy. So it's kind of too early to slot where he could truly be at, especially on the main roster. So definitely we got to let him cook. Ashanti, of course, you know, coming back from the main roster back to NXT. They kind of gave him this lover boy, playboy type gimmick, and it's okay because once again, you kind of wrestling has storytelling, and we all know, you know, love soap opera type things happen in wrestling. So this is just one of those things. I'm pretty sure at some point it's going to lead to Carmen charging up Nikita and it's stuff. Hank and Tank is the last team that gets their vignette. I mean, gets a little promo, and they're basically saying we're gonna turn it into a holiday mosh pit or a Christmas mosh pit or something like that. Because once again, it's a Christmas Chaos Fatal 4-Way. Then we also get a segment after that of Caden and Katana talking to the Misfits of, once again, Tatum, Gigi, and Shotzi. And then the Meta Girls show up. And from there, they had their little thing. And next week, we're going to get a triple threat. We're going to get the Meta Girls versus KC Squared. Yes, Caden Carter, Katana Chance, KC Squared. And I want to say it was Gigi and Shotzi. So that's going to happen. We get a Roxanne Perez vignette about how, you know, how she's doing the damn thing and how she's going to be defending against Julia. If I said it once, I'm saying it again. I see big things for Roxy on the main roster if she's booked right. Book her. So the issue with Roxanne Perez, ever since she went villain, she kind of took on somewhat of a Finn Balor-esque Prince persona. You know, especially, you know, he's the Prince, she's the Prodigy. If they keep her, because when they re-put Finn back on the main roster, they didn't keep that coolness factor of when he went back down to NXT to regain. They didn't transfer that over. So they need to transfer that persona and that vibe she has of the Prodigy, especially now with her being heel, to the main roster. And that would work. It would do numbers because you're looking at her size, but then you can't deny the skill, you can't deny the talent. Not saying that she has to come in immediately and just start dethroning people. I mean, she could work her way up while winning either the women's Intercontinental or the women's US, then eventually, of course, to the championship. So I'm not saying you got to quote unquote shoot her to the moon ASAP, but don't call up Roxanne and then next thing you know, she's just a shell of her former self. You know, like she's been putting in work down here in NXT. It should be reciprocated when she goes up to the main roster. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Now, we're here at the Christmas Chaos. We got the teams being introduced. We got, of course, Hank and Tank versus OTM versus NQCC versus the family. And it was 8-man tornado tag chaos. It was essentially a holiday themed match. So of course they had the obligatory spots using Christmas trees, using candy cane kendo sticks. At some point, Tony D pulled out candy caned crowbars, fire extinguishers, tables, chairs, shopping carts. Pretty decent match. You know, it's fun to watch. You know, these themed matches are always fun to watch. It ended with, there was a Santa Claus ringside. He attacked Tony D. He hit him with the Redeemer. And then OTM gets the dub. Now, I've been kind of saying, I don't know if I've said it on the channel, but I've been kind of saying that I think at this point, Fraxium is going to lose to OTM. They seem like they've been the next tag team up because they've been the ones always kind of there, but now that they're actually going to get a shot, and they didn't say if it's supposed to happen on New Year's Eve or not, but now they're going to actually get a shot. I can totally see OTM dethroning Fraxium at this point. And if OTM is not the team to dethrone Fraxium, I don't know. I really don't know. Because the only other team maybe Hank and Tank. And that's maybe. But OTM, I think, is going to be the team. Especially with NQCC losing at deadline. I think it's OTM's title to win now. And like I mentioned, Santa being hit with a Redeemer, of course, took out the guard, big Ridge Holland. So it seems like Ridge Holland kind of wants that North American Championship. Now, if booked correctly, Ridge can definitely be somebody cool back again on the main roster. I know he had I'm gonna say a bad break, no pun intended, with the main roster, you know, especially what happened with him and Big E, and, you know, it just seemed kind of weird after that. But if they just book him as this destroyer, it's going to work out for Ridge. And as far as the tag teams, all 4 tag teams, once again, they need to cook a little bit longer. I can see Hank and Tank being a breakout tag team only because they bring that energy. Hank and Tank brings energy. And sometimes bringing energy and being the life of a party can just work. I mean, for my wrestling fans, look at Mojo Rawley. Mojo Rawley was stay hyped, and it worked. So I can see Hank and Tank working because they just have energy, and they're going to bring this rock and roll-esque smash mouth style of wrestling. And once again, all 4 of these teams need a little bit more time in the oven. But like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if the family gets called up together. They decide to keep it as the family. Hank and Tank can definitely be one of those surprise tag teams. OTM is going to be akin to Crime Time. And not Crime Time as far as the gimmick, but Crime Time as far as the style they're going to bring. They're going to bring that style. They're going to bring that essence. Now, I don't know how it's going to carry over to the main roster because with Crime Time back then, they had the vignettes, but you also had JTG and Shad, may he rest in peace, with their charisma of Crime Time. And that's what made it work, though it was controversial. Very controversial, especially in today's climate. But it was still fun to see. So we'll see. But once again, I think all 4 teams definitely still need some more time in them. They need just a little bit more time in the oven. Because if we can let Fraxium get called up, it's fine for a tag team wise. And maybe Gallus. I think it's about time for Gallus to go ahead and get called up too. But we ain't talking about them. But you get the gist. We did get a segment of Ethan Page basically explaining, yeah, he did it. He did it. And he'll do it again. So, what you gonna do about it? And then the last segment, we have Trick Williams coming out. And as soon as Trick can get a word out, Big Femi comes out. And mainly before Oba can get a word out, Eddie Thorpe comes out. They're arguing, they're going back and forth. Of course, Thorpe is still mad because he technically didn't lose. Oba is like, look, with all this jibber jabber yin yang going on, 2 weeks, I'm taking that belt. And Trick was like, look, I'm tired of you, Eddie, bringing up the past. I'm tired of you, Oba, bringing up the future when we're in the right now. So how about we just do a triple threat in New Year's Eve? And Oba was like, man, see, I knew you were going to try to pull some BS because you know you couldn't beat me one-on-one. So you're going to try to beat Eddie. And Eddie was like, whoa, what you mean he going to beat me? And then Oba was like, look here, Eddie. You had no chance to beat Trick in the first place. With me added, you have no chance of winning this match. So then Ava comes out and Ava was like, Trick, is this what you want? And Trick was like, yeah. So New Year's Evil, Trick Willie is defending against Oba Femi and Eddie Thorpe. And then they lead to a brawl, which ultimately leads with Oba on top. He hits Trick with the power bomb. He tries to hit Thorpe with the power bomb. Thorpe kind of slithers on out of there. Boom. And then, Oba did the one thing you shouldn't do. He picked up the championship. Even though it's 2 weeks away, but he picked up the championship. Trick's charisma is going to make him a big deal on the main roster. Maybe not main event big deal, but for sure one of those people that anytime he comes out, they're gonna just love Trick. They're gonna love Trick. I can see Trick, if booked correctly and done correctly, he can have almost LA Knight style of charisma, where he's just a hometown favorite everywhere he goes. Almost Jey Uso S2. If it's booked correctly and it's cooked long enough, he could be damn near everybody's hometown hero. Because with the whoop that chant, the music, him being likable, yeah. Oba. I feel like Oba's a gift wrap. I feel like Oba is 1000% a gift wrap. And y'all would be crazy not to have Oba be just a big deal on the main roster. Like, look at the man. Gift wrap. Eddie Thorpe, going back to it, utility player. And once again, don't take it as a slight to anybody. We all know in the world of professional wrestling, just like any sport, everybody isn't meant to be the face of the league. Everybody isn't meant to be the star of the team. Just like in wrestling, there are plenty of people who were superstars and who are superstars that are not main event world championship people. And Eddie Thorpe, he's starting to prove to me that he could definitely be one of those sneaky, I didn't got here to the main event and you like, wait, what in the hell? So Eddie Thorpe, he's starting to prove that definitely he could be a good mid-carder and actually a good possible. I see more U.S. championship than Intercontinental, but hey, either or. Either or. Eddie Thorpe is actually starting. I'm like, huh? Because especially after they didn't flipped his character, I'm like, I can see him being one of the ones who is just sneakily being you just looking around like, wait, stop getting this match. So, yeah. Pretty much that's NXT this week, aka Christmas Chaos. That's gonna pretty much be the title of this episode. And the title of NXT episode, Christmas Chaos. Because it was, Christmas Eve. They had a Christmas Chaos Fatal 4-Way match, and there you go. Hey, and that's pretty much NXT this week, Tag Nation. Whether you loved it or hated it, don't forget to rate it. Thumbs up, thumbs down, perfect thumbs up. Like, share, comment. Let us know what you thought about NXT. Let us know what you thought about some of my theories and some of my projections of some of these men and women in NXT. After you do all of that, you gotta tag that subscribe button. And you gotta tag that notification bell so you can be notified when we post all type of videos. Whether it's hot tag, whether it's the tier list, whether it's Dizzle moments, whether it's tag me in, NXT.A.G, which you're watching right now with me. Lazy bars, but bars. Shout outs to the tag crew, the tag brethren, your current tag in the bank, and tag predictions champion Lip Dizzle. You got Jaeger Bombastic, so fantastic, aka the Heartthrob, and then you got Juggernaut 097, aka the Forbidden Door. Thank you once again. I've been ScooterRay, your host for this evening. And before I go, it's the holidays. Things can get stressful. Things can get just a little much. Take some time for yourself. Reconnect with yourself. Then reconnect with loved ones and things like that. But make sure you take care of yourself first. Love yourself, like yourself, and take care of yourself. Then you can love one another and take care of one another. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen of the IWC and the Tag Nation, you know what I'm saying? I got to warm up both hands, but you're only getting. And don't forget to tag out. Peace.